In this lesson, I'm going to show you how you can get started with Google Tag Manager. We're going to install it on your website, and I'm going to give you a little bit more tips on how to place the Google Tag Manager snippet correctly in your HTML code. All and more coming up right after this. Hi there, and welcome to another video of measureschool.com, where we teach you the data-driven way of digital marketing. My name is Julian, and in our first lesson we have talked about the core functionality of Google Tag Manager. I gave you a little bit of an overview. Now in this lesson we're going to discover on how to install Google Tag Manager correctly. There's actually a lot of things that you can do wrong, so please follow along closely. But before we get started, if you want to test your knowledge after this lesson, then head over to measureschool.com/lesson2 and you can go through a little bit of a quiz, and we will send you some more resources afterwards. We got lots to cover, so let's dive in. Alright, today our journey starts by going to your browser and opening up the URL tagmanager.google.com. And that will prompt you with a login screen. Now what you need to input is a Google account address. So if you have an account for example, Gmail or YouTube, you'll be able to use that email address to open up your Tag Manager account. If you don't have an account, then you can easily create one by clicking this link. I will skip over this because I have an account that is associated with my Google account. And we simply log in. And we'll get redirected to our Google Tag Manager account. Now chances are, if you haven't worked with Google Tag Manager, you don't see all these different containers. You'll be directly to creating a new account. And in this step, you'll be able to create a new account and then set up a container. What does that mean? Well, a container is the actual Google Tag Manager snippet. And you'll be able to host multiple instances of Google Tag Manager within one account. So the recommended way of setting this up is actually entering your company name here, deciding whether you want to share this data with Google or not, and then entering as the container your actual website. So later on, you could add multiple containers to that one account. In the last step, we choose our container type. In our case, we want to track a website, but it's also possible to install Google Tag Manager on iOS or Android apps, which is a whole nother process of installation, which we'll not cover in this tutorial. Let's click on Web here and create. We have to go through the terms of service and agree to them. And then we'll be greeted with our actual Google Tag Manager snippet. And this is a marketing tag in essence, which you need to install to your website. Now I've said before that you'll be able to do everything through Google Tag Manager, but actually this is a snippet that you need to install into your HTML code. It's probably the last tag that you need to install because we will be deploying all our future tags through Google Tag Manager, but this is necessary for Google Tag Manager to work correctly. Now the instructions say that you should place the actual code beneath the opening body tag. So it requires to make an actual code change on your website and implement this into your HTML on your website. So for most bigger sites, you would take the snippet and copy it over to an email to send to your developer in order for him to install it. But make sure to give him the instructions to place this beneath the opening body tag. Another method would be to utilize plugins, and there are a lot of plugins out there that handle the code implementation for your system. So if you are on WordPress, there's a great plugin by Thomas Geiger, which I'm going to link up below. There are also plugins to install this for Magento shops, Joomla, and Angular.js driven websites. But I encourage you to just head over to Google and input your CMS or your shop system with the addition of Google Tag Manager installation, and you're most likely to find instructions for this. Now just to show you how it would work manually, we're gonna head over to our demo shop here, and this is a site that runs on WordPress. WordPress is the most used CMS in the world, So I'm going to demonstrate this based on WordPress, but maybe your installation process would be different depending on your CMS. So in order to install this, we need to install it on all the pages. And what we actually want to do is input it into the page source, so it appears inside of this page source. Since this is a CMS, it works with templates and theme files. So we'll be able to place the code one time and it will automatically be inputted on all the pages. So how would we do that? First of all, we need to have access to our backend system, which in WordPress is under the WP admin section. We'll go into the admin section of our site, and under appearance, we have an editor where we can edit these template files. Then we'll search for the right template file. In our case, that would be the header PHP right here. And we can look through the code and place it in the correct location under the opening body tag, which is in our case right here. Then we update the file and we should be all set. One warning here, for WordPress websites, it is actually recommended to install this into a child theme, so the files don't get overwritten once the theme is updated. I have skipped the step, but it's a recommended practice within WordPress. Now we can look up if everything worked fine. We can go back to our demo shop and actually open up the page source and look for our GTM snippet, which is right here under the opening body tag. So this all works fine. Now we want to make sure that it's actually deployed on all the pages. So we could go through and look into the page source, but another nicer way is to actually go into the preview and debug mode within our Google Tag Manager. So let's do this really quickly. Reload our page here. And we see that our debug console opens. We can navigate to the next site and see our debug console opens as well. And this will be the case for every website that has Google Tag Manager installed correctly. So if the Google Tag Manager console doesn't open, we haven't installed Google Tag Manager correctly on our website. So it seems to be the case that all the websites are tagged correctly. Obviously, this is something that you need to check more extensively in some cases, especially if you're working with multiple systems on one website. But in our case, everything seems to work fine. We can also check with a browser extension called the Google Tag Assistant that Google Tag Manager is installed. Again, this implementation most likely is going to differ from your implementation on your website if you have a different system running than WordPress. Now let me mention some of the edge cases. So sometimes you have very restrictive content management systems or a website builder where you want to install Google Tag Manager. And sometimes you run into the case, for example, here on our lead pages account, you can't actually edit the HTML, but they have an option to install tracking codes. Now in our case, we have two fields here. One is the head tracking code and one is the end of body tracking tag. Unfortunately, there is no beneath the opening body tag box. So we had to adjust our Google Tag Manager tracking. What did we do? We basically looked for the no script tag and placed that in the actual body of our website and the script tag of Google Tag Manager in the head section of Google Tag Manager. So if you look at our Google Tag Manager code again, which we can find right up here, we have taken the no script part and placed it in the body section and the script part in the head section, which is a legitimate practice to deploy Google Tag Manager because Google Tag Manager will still be working as expected. You just need to make sure to not place the no script tag within the head section because it will throw an error in certain browsers. And when we go over, we can also look if this has been deployed correctly. Reload this page. And we see we have our certain tags here with Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics working correctly. Last but not least, Before we get started with implementing any kind of tags, I would recommend to publish a version so Google Tag Manager is actually initiated, although there are no tags or triggers or variables deployed at this moment in time. And this is how you can set up Google Tag Manager on your website. So there you have it. Installing Google Tag Manager isn't that hard if you do it correctly. If you want to test your knowledge after this lesson, head over to measureschool.com/lesson2, where we have a little bit of a quiz prepared for you, and we'll send you some more resources surrounding the installation of Google Tag Manager. Now in our next lesson, I'm going to teach you a little bit more theory around Google Tag Manager, what it's really all about and how it fits into an organizational structure. This is very important to understand before we start deploying any new tags on our website. So join me at the next lesson number 3. Just click over to the next video and I'm hopefully gonna see you there. My name is Julian. Till next time.